right, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to a new video on texture drawing. Actually, it's not really new because, anyway. So, we're actually just going to jump right into it. And this video is designed to show you how to take the textures and the texture ability that we, did in the previous video, which is linked up here in the corner. And we're going to take those and we're going to figure out how to use those textures to make our own backgrounds. And we're going to make our backgrounds from those textures in some very peculiar ways. This is actually my favorite one. As a spoiler alert, this is actually my favorite one that I'm finishing up here. And this one was the easiest one, simplest one, I should say. This background here is actually us looking up from a canyon, and it has two bridges over it and all that good stuff. I like that one. It was interesting. Well, just as interesting as all of these. But this one here ended up being a bit of a bridge type texture as well. Again, I used all of the same techniques that I talked about in the previous video in this entire, on these two pages and all of these panels. From stippling to hatching to cross-hatching, and then ink blotting and ink smearing and all that good stuff. Stippling is just the main one that you're going to see a lot because it can just you can use it to build up so much and so many types of textures. And because of that, I just kept using it because it worked. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Honestly, or at least that's how I see it. And this one right here is actually, I started doing it at random, but these ended up being 3 chimneys, clouded in smoke. The back one is obviously clouded in smoke a bit more and all that good stuff. So I really kept that. I kept that theme going here, and it really worked. But, it was kind of odd. This one here, and then a lot of the other water-based backgrounds that I ended up doing, they were just a little odd, but I used the water background, the watered down ink. There you go. Forgot how to say it. I used that here as a base to add some clouds, which was kind of cool. I kind of should have went more in depth for that in retrospect, but it still kind of did its trick. And as you see, I just kept adding onto the foreground, which was kind of one of the main things that I wanted to do. But as I'm darkening the corners, I ended up just trying to figure out how to frame this entire thing. And by the end of it, it actually looked a lot better than I thought. I added a couple of people, a couple of small things, a couple of a bit of life into the drawing as I kept going. And it kind of worked. This one here ended up being a bit more of a valley. And you can obviously see that that is a cave. Well, I shouldn't say obviously, I shouldn't assume that. But anyway, this one ended up being more of a valley. So kind of the opposite of what our first one, which is like right next to me, started off as being. And when it came down to it, I wasn't too sure how I wanted to approach this one. And once I actually figured out how to do it, I just added more texturing, which is kind of the cheat code to most of these backgrounds. That's kind of why I wanted to make this video, because when you make all of these together and you actually put them down, the little cheat code is to basically just add more textures, so you'll be able to convey your idea a lot better. And here I ended up adding a lot more textures even after I was done with it. But this one is more cross-hatching based. This one was supposed to be a flower of some kind. Again, it was just to experiment with backgrounds, because it actually doesn't need to be a flower. That one was a bit interesting. I actually didn't need to make it a flower. It could have been something completely different, like a cave or somebody finding something in a cave. But these 3 that I'm working on kind of simultaneously, I wanted to connect all 3 of these panels because, well, for one, I like the challenge of doing that, but 2, I thought of how tarot cards. I don't know how to say that. Tarot cards I designed, and I felt like these could have easily been like on the back of some amateur cards, and I like that. So I kept going with it, and I kept adding, just again the standard texturing abilities, mainly stippling and the ink blotting, and I just kept experimenting with the contrast and the overall value that is being conveyed throughout that entire image. And then I ended up doing the same thing here. I gave this one a bit of a smoky background, which ended up translating nicely into rock textures. And this stippling that I'm doing here was kind of a field, and then all of this was supposed to be connected, and it was supposed to be, again, I say supposed to be, but it changes, a bit more of a type of undiscovered cave, and undiscovered ruins, I should say, which by the end of it looked just like that. And like most things I have to do, they have to go through that ugly phase before it actually looks like what I'm trying to convey. And it kind of worked because I added that little a little figure right there, as well as the dog, or at least a little companion for that figure, which kind of worked. And after taking a little bit of a break here, I went back in and started crosshatching this little area, which kind of looked like a city, which was cool. I don't know. Tell me what type of city you think that looks like in the comments. It was kind of interesting. But as we kept going, I decided to play with this background here. I wanted to see how cave backgrounds could work with just this type of texturing that I'm doing. I did a lot of this last year, actually. And now that I think about it, I kind of went overboard with it and had a lot of fun. But again, went overboard, so it really didn't work. It didn't help the way that it should have. But I still liked it. And more cross-hatching here to add on to the dark area of this cave. I thought I should add stalactites or mites. I think I'll say stalactites here. Which kind of worked, but they didn't work for me as best as they could. So I just ran around and collected those, gathered, all of the stuff that I wanted to use here. And this one here is supposed to be glass, like I did in the previous page before. But what it ended up looking like, especially as I tried to connect these shatter rings around, I don't even know if that's the right word you would call it, a shatter ring on glass, it looked more like a web. So you can pause it and look back on it too if you want to, which was interesting for me at least. And as I filled out the last page here, at first I thought this was going to be a cave, but then it kind of looked more like a plant at the end of it, because the repetitive pattern of the ink splotching, when you do it right, it can make a nice pattern of plants, or at least plant leaves. Again, all you have to do is just get the shape of your napkin right, or whatever you want to use to splotch that paint. Whenever you want to splotch that ink down, just get the right size pattern and just repeat it, because that's what helps, or at least what helps me. And now that we are on to the second page, these panels are kind of just applications again. The first page, bit more of how to use these, and then this page right here is just more how do these actually work if you were to make a kind of subject. But then that was kind of what this was supposed to be. Then I changed it. This little bunny rabbit, I don't know what I named him, but this little bunny rabbit was kind of fun. I used this as a subject, and I just added on with my inks. I experimented a bit more with the ink washing, like I always do. I always experiment because I never get it right, which is kind of fun for me. But this kind of helped facilitate the next part that we're going to do. I had to empty out the cup. So we got new clean water, And I wanted to experiment with some water here just to see how the water would react to the ink and see what type of background it would make. And there you go. It kind of it kind of ruined the page, kind of, because all the water was just everywhere. But I did it again here, and the ink dropping this down like this makes some nice silhouetted backgrounds, which that's cool. That's kind of what the purpose of this video was supposed to be, but you know, kind of weird. So I just added on to them. Instead of trying to, you know, correct a mistake, I just made it a happy accident, and I just added on to it a little bit more. So this one here could have gone a couple of different ways, and then the water kind of ran over, and then I didn't really think about how I could use it a little bit, use it in any other way. But I ended up texturing these panels, and I added the line so I can get a border. And you know, there you go. I darkened the border, but again, there was so much water on the page that it didn't make sense to do that, or at least in my head it made sense at the time. But I added more water splotches here, and well, yeah, it kind of worked. What type of background would you think that works? What type of background do you think that will work in? Let me know, because I can't think of one right now. But this piece here, I thought of something that I saw in Google Images, and I definitely won't be able to find it. And I felt like this could have been a flag, honestly. So I just kept adding to the background. I kept experimenting with the dark area and the light area. I erased a little bit, and then I kind of ruined it like this. But it was interesting. It was very interesting. I'm not sure what type of background this could have been, but it still seemed fun. It still seemed like some good practice. It felt less finished than I thought it would have been. And then this one kind of failed outright. I wanted to combine all of the textures, or at least the texture abilities, and make this background the best one for last. But then my recording kind of froze, so I didn't even do that. But here are the end results. They were fun. Again, I numbered all of these actually. So we have, I think, 17. I put the number right next to them so you can be able to tell. And with that being said, I want to thank you all for watching this video. And please tell me which one you like the best and the most, because mine was number 5 actually, which was technically the first one that I did, and it's here right now. It's a stippling piece where we just were looking up from a canyon. It was interesting. And with that being said, this is kind of the little conclusion for how to actually draw all of these. And making textures is extremely fun, but you know, it's very funny to add them to backgrounds. It's kind of tricky to add them in that type of way. So in the future, you all please just be careful when you're taking these techniques and applying them to your own work. And yeah, and with all that being said, I will check you all later, and don't forget to like the video and all that good jazz. So until then, I'll see you soon.